The Amazing Spider-Man 2 hit cinemas last month, and while I personally found it underwhelming, I still cannot wait for number 3. But until then, journey with me back through Sam Raimi's original trilogy. This is going to bring back some memories. Oh yeah. Spider-Man. I'm going to state here and now, for the record, before I get into my thoughts on this movie and this trilogy, this is the only film in my entire life that I have seen in the theaters that I have ever walked out of. Here's the story. This film came out back in 2002. I was 11. I was a huge Spider-Man fan. Still am. This pretty much proves it. I had been waiting just like any hungry nerd for this film to come out, and I was not going to let the reviews spoil it for me. Even if they were terrible, didn't matter. The trailer could have sucked, it didn't matter. I was seeing Spider-Man. My mom and I head to the cinema. We go to the Orinda Theater, and we're seated in their biggest cinema, like their biggest auditorium, right? It's freaking huge. We got our snacks, popcorn, soda. I am ready. My fanboy sense is tingling. Then, the opening titles came on. I don't know about you, but I was dizzy. It was not cool. It was like, why are you trying to make me throw up? Then the movie starts, but for some reason, when he gets bit by the spider, at that point, I started to kind of freak out. I mean, I'm excited, you know, but in a nervous way. I don't get why though, because prior to seeing this movie, I had seen plenty of PG-13 rated movies, and while some of them had been really intense, I had gotten through them no problem. But anyways, I'm soaking it all in, right? Trying to get into a more relaxed state, and it's kind of working. Then, the wrestling match comes. We see Bonesaw kicking major ass, and the crowd is loving it. And that's when we get this clip. I think I've mentioned this before, I'm pretty sure I have, but if not, here it is. The one thing I cannot stand, I can't stand it at all in movies, is self-mutilation. Any form of it, I can't stand it. So as ridiculous as this may sound, I see these fans with their cardboard saws, and I see them, you know, doing this, and somehow my brain convinces itself, me basically, that they are legitimately cutting their arms. They are actually like sawing through their arms, you know? Hey mom, yeah, I think we should go like now, cause yeah, we need to go now. You can finish that later, we just need to go now. Needless to say, I wanted to get out of there lickety-split. And my mom was not happy about that, but yeah, we did. We left. We didn't ask for a refund. We just got in the car and left. Not my proudest moment. Probably the saddest part of that whole day, though, was that to make myself feel better, when I got home, I watched my VHS copy of Spy Kids. It worked wonders, let me tell ya. But I vowed to confront my fears. So when the film came out, I went to Best Buy, walked in like a boss, and I went to the table where they had all the copies of the movie and picked up, I still have it, the full screen special edition 2-disc copy, because 1 disc just isn't enough. Never is. I bought it, brought it home, finished the movie, and felt accomplished. My fear was more or less gone. I mean, the scene I got over, but that whole self-mutilation thing, oh yeah, that's still there. And it probably is going to remain there for my entire life. Yippee. I haven't seen this movie since the 3rd one came out, so whenever that was, that's the last time I saw it. And watching it again was a very eye-opening experience because it was the first time that I was watching it like with a director's eye. I wasn't a blind bat like I was back in 2002. It was something else, you know? The first movie is, in my opinion, a rough draft of a great superhero movie. All the elements for fanboy heaven are in place. and all the checkboxes for the essentials in a superhero movie are checked off. But the way it was handled didn't completely agree with me. I get that this movie was made back in the early days of comic book movies, but all the same, this movie is at times very corny. And it's obvious when Raimi and company are using a set surrounded by green screen to shoot an action scene. As for the villain, I think Green Goblin was a good choice, but Willem Dafoe isn't always easy to take seriously, especially during that rooftop scene with him and a nearly passed out Spider-Man. Is it just me, or is he trying to in some way mimic Jack Nicholson in The Shining the entire movie? I really don't know, but either way, the actors pulled through given the material provided, and the filmmakers brought Spider-Man's New York to life. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Spider-Man 2 is a whole new ballgame, but it is the best kind of ballgame because the team that you want to win, wins. And it was a big deal for me seeing this in the movie theater because it was the first film I saw at night. It was my first non-matinee movie, and it was amazing. Rewatching it, I surprised myself by crying actually quite a bit. It was mostly during the scenes that involved Aunt May, but nonetheless, this movie has a lot of heart, and the story, which is incredibly inspiring, reminded me of why having heroes is a very important thing. And the interesting thing is that in both this movie and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's a little boy who wants to be Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 took it a bit further, but there's still, you know, that boy in this movie who believes in Spider-Man and he wants to be the wall crawler. It reminds me of me, because growing up I had those really crappy web shooter things that you bought at Target, you know, and the canisters were sold separately. They were like 20 bucks, and you'd go outside and start spraying wherever, and like 5 minutes later they were gone. It was the worst thing ever for a kid, because you're just like, no, my powers are gone. But, you know, crappy ass toy, what do you expect? Childhood memories aside though, I adore the villain in this movie, Doc Ock. That character allowed Raimi to bring his horror background front and center and really fill the screen with terror. Prime example is the shop class scene. Alfred Molina was also the best casting choice because he brought soul to the part, and he reminded audiences through his performance that Spider-Man's enemies really aren't bad guys. They've just been served circumstances which propel them down a path that is dark, and finding the light is very hard. My problems with the film personally are I don't think Dr. Connors should have been in the film if Lizard was not going to be a part of the storyline, because that's to me like slapping fans in the face. There's also a couple times when the love story aspect of the film goes down the path of really bad soap opera writing and acting. Maguire and Dunst are a good on-screen couple, but the way their stuff is written makes you wish the scene would just end faster. Overall though, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie, and I watched the director's cut, which includes a scene involving J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man suit. Best scene ever. Well, not quite as good as the groundbreaking train fight, which still blows my mind to this day, but it's a great scene. Spider-Man 2 gets 4.5 out of 5 stars. And now we arrive at the film in the franchise that most fans really don't care for in the slightest. Spider-Man 3. I don't recall my exact feelings on this movie when it came out, but I do remember all the hate it got, because the movie got a lot of shit. And as a result, rewatching it, I thought that I was going to dislike it. Not hate it, just dislike it. But I actually enjoyed it. It's not a great movie by any means, but I didn't hate it. This one has the most drama by far, and the CGI is ramped up exponentially, and the creative intentions, I think, were a little misguided. I saw where Sam Raimi wanted to take these characters, and I don't think bringing in multiple villains was a bad idea, but here's my thinking. Instead of Sandman, they should have had the Lizard. Dr. Connors is again in this movie and has a larger presence to an extent. Peter brings the symbiote to his attention, and I think it would have been really cool if we saw Connors trying to help Peter overcome the Black Suit post being defeated as Lizard. And then Peter has to deal with Venom, who ends up being the guy who killed his uncle. How that whole story would play out beat for beat, I am not sure, and it may have forced Peter into telling Connors that he is Spider-Man, but I think that it would have been more emotionally gripping had that path been chosen. As for the path that was chosen, we were not given the best Spider-Man film. No. And I think fans were most shocked by Emo Peter. Those scenes for me are definitely cringeworthy, and my least favorite scene right behind Peter and Harry's fistfight is when Peter and Gwen go out and the night ends with Peter smacking Mary Jane. She puts up with a lot of shit from guys, and I'm honestly amazed that she can look at him again after that encounter. Like in a standard drama, I could see that character leaving town and starting anew. On the plus side though, the main cast, save for Thomas Hayden Church, who is flat as a pancake, dear God, turned in their best work. I also really dig the final action scene. The CGI aside, it's one of the most well put together action scenes I've seen like in any movie, and I love watching Peter and Harry team up. Although now that I think about it, that one scene where Gwen is saved by Spider-Man, like, you know, when we meet Topher Grace for the first time, like, that scene never really finishes because that crane still has a mind of its own. And unless Spider-Man saving Gwen triggered that crane going back to normal, I'm pretty sure Spider-Man has some unfinished business he is leaving. Despite all its flaws though, I do like this installment, but it is, in my opinion, the worst installment in the Sam Raimi franchise. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. So now, taking into consideration the newer Spider-Man films, here's where I am at officially as a fan. I like both Maguire and Garfield as Spider-Man. I think given the time the films are being made and who their directors they are both equally good Spider-Mans. As for Gwen Stacy, even though she's only in Raimi's 3rd film, I like Emma Stone more. And as for Harry Osborn, as much as I love Dane DeHaan, James Franco is my Harry Osborn. I rank all of the Spider-Man films from best to worst as such. Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 3, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. If you are up for sharing, please let me know how you rank them, or just your thoughts in general on the franchise, and maybe your thoughts on, you know, how the new films are doing. Whatever really is on your mind that's Spider-Man related. And if you have made it this far, endless thank yous. Seriously. I love you guys. I am going to let Spider-Man sign off for me because he's been aching to do it ever since we began this video, so yeah. How do you want to do this? What's that? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, we can do that, totally. 2 seconds. Alright, hang on.